Well, hello YouTube, and welcome into another Part 0 video. I am the Game Mechanic, here with you as always, and today we have some Pericles coming at you. You will of course notice that these aggression abilities are the exact same abilities as Gorgo. So, you've already heard this once before, but let's do it again from the top, this time with feeling. Surrounded by Glory is ranked fairly low for me because I did these ranks prior to starting the summer challenge. I'm going to revisit those ranks and try to give some more definition and clarity, as well as doing ranks for each victory type in the coming weeks here. So maybe something you guys can look forward to as well. But all that is to say is Surrounded by Glory is rated 2 out of 5 because it was rated prior to us using the city-state wall mod. So without the city-state wall mod, Surrounded by Glory is significantly worse because the AI really takes those initial like 5 warriors and all that early stuff they have and just they plow through anybody that's next to them. So tends to be that by the end of the game there are none left. Using the city-state wall mod, you have a much higher chance of having at least a couple city-states by the end. They're eventually going to get taken over, but at a more reasonable timeline than just in the first like 50 turns. So with the city-state wall mod, this is a much better ability. 5% per city-state or culture, 5% culture per city-state that you're suzerain of can be, even if that's 10%, that's 10% of, I don't know, 400. So name me another ability that gets you like 40, that can give you 40 culture per turn. It doesn't really exist. It's actually a very strong ability. It is difficult to contend with envoys. Wonders like the Apadana become that much more valuable along with the envoys you get from the Acropolis. We'll get there. But so there are certain ways that you can play to the strengths of how good Surrounded by Glory is, and if you just forget about it and ignore it, then obviously it's not going to do anything for you. But you're kind of not playing Pericles right if that's what's going on. So while it gets a low ranking for me, it is actually a very strong ability. Let's call it like 20% culture, like 4 city-states. That's pretty reasonable, especially if you wind up taking out another Civ or something like that and just eliminating all their envoys, or if you get something like Apadana. So can be very, very strong. So don't let the ranking fool you. It's actually a pretty good ability. Plato's Republic, of course, as with Gorgo, is just as insane. It's not as insane as it is with Gorgo as far as like the first, I'll call it 50, 60 turns, because with Gorgo, you can micromanage your policy changes by like killing a barbarian, getting that little bit of culture, boosts you to the end. Cool, let's switch now. I get to run a different policy, etc., etc., etc. A little bit harder to do, but just as effective. I mean, basically starting with Forbidden City, that's insane. Like, you get to start with a Wonder. Yay. Okay. Yeah, that's stupid good. It's just amazing. If I were building a Civ from scratch, starting with Plato's Republic is probably a pretty safe place to go. The Hoplite, on the other hand, is just kind of a unique unit. It is a unique unit that's kind of okay. So it's not something to really write home about, but it can be effective. It was boosted as far as production value with a Gauge or a Gog. I don't actually know how to say that. With the Rise and Fall changes, so it is better than it used to be, but it is still basically a spearman that gets extra combat strength if next to another one. They're pretty good on the defense, like defending against horses or even knights, frankly, if you have enough of them. But it isn't something that you're probably going to want to march to war with all that often because of its unit type, because it's specifically an anti-cavalry. It tends to be a little bit weaker than, like, say, a swordsman. And while being strong against cavalry, you don't tend to run in against that type of strict meta on deity like you would in multiplayer. But it's fine. You can use a couple. Definitely get some arrow score off of that. Early arrow score is super nice. The Acropolis, on the other hand, is an amazing district. This is one when I redo my ranks, it'll probably come up to at least a 4 out of 5. Just regardless of the game, because it is quite strong. The fact that it's a unique theater square means you build it in half the time, and that is really good. Culture is viable in every single playthrough, no matter what victory type you're going for, whether it's getting to like mercenaries or corps and armies, nationalism, it's just always good. Governments, things like that, policies, just really strong. So having one that also gets you culture adjacency bonus, which is kind of difficult to do with some leaders in their theater squares, is that much better. So it replaces the theater square district and gives you an envoy when completed. So that can help synergize with Surrounded by Glory. Winds up being very, very strong. And then you get, if you build it next to your city center, I believe it's a +2. Because it like counts your city center twice because it's a district and it gets that bonus. I think that's correct. I should actually look at the video. If I'm wrong, I apologize. It might be just +1, but I think it's +2. And then it does have to be built on hills, which we'll get to why that's actually good. And then one extra culture for each district, so it winds up being like a Japan style. So if you just surround it with districts, you can get up to like +8. And that's really good. The misleading part of this is it says +1 culture for each adjacent wonder. No, the theater square got changed to +2 culture for being next to a wonder with Rise and Fall. This is still just +2 culture for being adjacent to a wonder. So this is kind of unnecessary to put the wonder line in here. It could just be that for districts. So that's a little misleading, but it is a very, very strong district. Can only be built on hills. I don't like that. I don't like overriding hills for districts, generally speaking. But when it comes with a hill start bias, sign me up. The most underrated part about both the Greek leaders is that you have a hill start bias. So you have potentially some of the most ridiculous capitals you've ever seen. So Pericles is a super fun leader to play in a variety of different ways. He's got a strong enough ability with Plato's Republic to kind of do anything you want to. Culture obviously makes a lot of sense, but you can definitely play to your map and the other leaders a little bit at least. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this playthrough, and yeah, let me know what you think about Pericles. Drop it down in the comments there. And thank you guys. Thanks for subscribing here on YouTube. Make sure you follow my Twitch over at twitch.tv/thegamemechanic, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks everybody.